Hey, did you see She Said?
Huh?
Did you see She Said?
Did I see She Said?
Yeah,
She said what?
the movie.
What movie?
She Said.
Dude, what did she say?
Oh my god, the movie, She Said.
Who the hell is she, dude? And what movie are you talking about?
The name of the movie is She Said. Did you see it?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Hey, what's up, film friends? I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. So stoked to be back with you guys today on the channel. Today, we're tackling another review of a film that is in theaters now. Two women, two New York Times reporters whose story and investigation took down a monster. Without further ado, this is She Said. She Said is a story brought to life by director Maria Schrader, based on the book, also entitled She Said, written by Twohey and Jodi, the two New York Times reporters who assembled the eyewitness testimony that brought down Miramax founder and mogul Harvey Weinstein. It's a once-in-a-generation story, one that ignited an entire movement that is still reverberating through our world today. But to start, I guess the real question is, to whom is the titular pronoun referring? So who is the she here? Now, director Schrader and this story has a difficult balance to strike, right? I think the question of who the she is really at the center of our critical analysis of this picture. On the one hand, it's clear that we want to foreground the stories of these two women, of Kantor and Twohey, and all of that they did to birth this tale to the world. But on the other, there is eyewitness testimony from actresses and workers at Miramax and all of these people that needed assembled together. The people who spoke out so bravely. And I think that Schrader wisely chooses to foreground those women. More on this in a second as we continue to unpack this. So let's talk about what I liked about the film. I think the most obvious thing would be the performances. The real question at the center of any kind of awards talk is it Carey Mulligan as Twohey or Zoe Kazan as Kantor? I think if you look at the narrative and the way things proceed, that Mulligan is the much more awards baity performance. She's more brazen, she has the bigger lines. There's a scene where she kind of runs through a creeper at a bar who's hitting on their group as they're talking. But what struck me is the performance of Kazan as Kantor. She is really the heart and soul of the picture. It's Kazan who's out talking to these women. She's the one sitting down doing the hard work of interviewing eyewitnesses, of taking copious notes, and of assembling this story. The film is littered with other great performances too. You know, we could talk about Patricia Arquette as Rebecca Corbett. This is one of my criticisms of how the film changes the book. Corbett is an advisor who just kind of pushes all of the right buttons and whose presence looms large over the investigation, pushing them for sources and details along the way. Here, she's mostly relegated to kind of a rah-rah cheerleader. So you get a lot of, get out there, ladies, and talk to them sources. I just would have liked to have seen more from such a great performer as Patricia Clarkson. Now, Andre Braugher, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. As the head of this division, he gets all of the juicy and meaty one-liners. It is he who gets to talk down and go toe-to-toe with Harvey Weinstein on the phone. In a film that is otherwise deathly serious, the only moments of levity and where we get the satisfaction of seeing this guy get his comeuppance come from Braugher's sort of assault of Weinstein's shrinking arrogance. What else is solid? The way that Maria Schrader chooses to shoot this is an interesting decision. There's no fancy camera tricks, there's no high-speed editing. She is mostly a passive observer to the proceedings. And I think that's smart when you think about the kind of work that she's doing here. She's telling a story about the journalistic process, which is a dull grind. It is monotonous. You know, journalism and writing and meeting deadlines is an arduous task. While this film proceeds sometimes at a kind of glacial pace, I think it captures the work of the project quite well. It's just not always the most cinematic. So to return to what we were talking about at the top, the choice between the she of the two women and the she of all of the eyewitnesses, that choice has consequences for the structure of the film that, I'll be honest, bothered me in places. What we're left with is a film that's about a mile wide and an inch deep. The characterization is often quite thin. A lot of the times these women aren't behaving like real people. They're more just talking heads. And I'm talking about the reporters who wrote this book. The film wants to get us through each and every one of these events so faithfully that it turns into a cutting frenzy. And what makes this so incredibly evident is the few times that the film actually does stop in its tracks and slow down. I'm talking about the two scenes that involve interviews with Samantha Morton and later Jennifer Ely. These are the absolute best moments of the entire picture. In a film that is often hard to watch, gut-wrenching, and brings forth such empathy for what these women suffered, slowing down and allowing us to breathe in these deeper characterizations just cause She Said to soar. Unfortunately, they're just often few and far between. You know, I think there's a film in here that slows down a little bit. It cuts a few of those details out. For instance, it shows their relationships at home with their husbands. It's clear that Schrader wants to shed some light on these difficult things, newborn children, and receiving phone calls in the middle of the night. But again, because everything just continues sort of moving along and the film is so overstuffed with these events, we just don't get much of the time to feel these people as full-orbed characters. Now, when you think of the structure of She Said, a couple of films come to mind. As I said, this is definitely a journalism picture. And so I think due to the nature of the work and what they're trying to sort of unearth and uncover, Spotlight certainly comes to mind. That too is filled with great performances and tied to the deep diving investigative process. But when you're talking about two reporters who are connected, two folks who are united in mind to try and take on and take down a bigger system, then the gold standard here is obviously All the President's Men. And I've got to be honest, I would have liked to have seen more of that kind of banter and connection here between Twohey and Kantor. Now look, I get it. This is an incredibly serious subject. I guess what I'm trying to say is I could have just used a little more of the Woodward and Bernstein vibes this time around. In sum, this is an emotional film that hits hard. One more scene that I forgot to mention features a change from the rest of the proceedings. It's actual audio of Harvey Weinstein grooming someone. And while the audio is playing, we get a slow tracking shot of a camera proceeding down an empty hallway as these harrowing details are falling upon our ears. It's absolutely gut-wrenching stuff and proof that this is a film which should affect us and move us and cause us to empathize with these survivors who had the guts and courage to speak out. She Said takes its time and lets us feel the painstaking process of birthing this juggernaut to the world. So what do we conclude? Solid journalism matters. Hooray for us writers! She Said is a slow burn grind with no bells and whistles, just a solid investigative drama. Well, there you have it. FOF gives this film, She Said, 3.5 out of 5 stars. So have you seen it? What did you like? What critiques do you have? Comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Now, if you'd like to read my full-length written review of this film, we'll leave a link in the description below. As always, I'd love it if you'd visit FurmanOnFilm.com and check out all of our new content, lots of reviews, lists, and deep dives where you can explore to your heart's content. If you enjoyed this review and would like to see more, please like and subscribe. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.